Hello, this is Erica Norton, and I'm the founder of Perfect Legal Video. I'm very excited to have with us today Attorney Nicole Reeves Lavallee. She owns a real estate and a family law firm out in the Worcester area, and we are very fortunate to have her with us every week, giving us great tips and advice in those realms of the law. Today, we are going to dabble in the real estate side, and we're going to talk about putting homes in a trust and what are the do's and don'ts and what's great about it, what's bad about it, and we'll find out. I don't even know if there is anything bad about it, but we're going to find out. Welcome to the show today, Nicole. We appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. So today we're talking about putting homes in a trust. I think we should go over, just for those of us out there that need to brush up on, like, what is a trust?
Trust is basically an entity that's, similar in nature, if you will, to a corporation or a LLC, something like that. So it's a different entity. It's not in an individual name. The entity will have its own tax ID number and it will have to file taxes. So it is its own thing that is going to own assets.
And it has to do taxes. Wow. I didn't know about that. What are some of the reasons that someone would want to have a trust?
Well, the biggest reason is usually going to be for Medicare advantages or avoidance, I should say. Um, we all talk about how we don't want Uncle Sam to take our houses. Well, that's the way people do it, is they put it in a trust. The trust owns the entity, not me. And again, the question is, what kind of trust? Is it a revocable trust? Is it a family trust? Is it an irrevocable trust? Is it a realty trust? I mean, we can go on and on about the types of trusts that there are out there. And from everyone else's perspective, chances are, unless it's one particular one, it's not touchable for mass health, for the nursing homes, for things of that nature. So that's the reason why people are going to do it. And sometimes it's because, you're a landlord and you have 20 properties. And if anyone's going to get sued, you'd rather have the trust being sued than you individually. So it's a protection.
I mean, and that's really great because a lot of people don't understand how trusts work. And some people get a trust and then they never put their assets in there. And I'm one of those people. But we've always been on the cusp of either selling or buying something else and just kind of always put it off. Um, but we do have a trust. And I guess what is the process of putting your property in a trust? Do you also put bank accounts in a trust? Do you like, is it just like its own entity where everything goes in there? You can pay bills through the trust and that sort of thing.
It all depends on the type of trust, but the simple answer is it could very well be. It could be every single asset you own could be in the trust, or it could be certain things like I'm only going to put the real estate in trust and it has no actual cash. And then there's other times that you're going to throw everything in there. Again, it depends on what the ultimate purpose is, where you are in life, and what's going to be most beneficial to you and your family.
So you mentioned that it depends what type of trust it is. What are the trust types?
Oh, there's so many. But again, the most common are going to be the irrevocable trust, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's irrevocable. Once you do it, you can't change it, you can't destroy it, you can't terminate it, you can't amend it for the most part. Um, a revocable trust is the exact opposite. It's here and I can change it whenever I want. Generally speaking, you're going to have a revocable trust when you're talking about having little children that, God forbid you pass away, you want to make sure that there's a guardianship in place and the money is going to be in this trust for your children or for their growing up since you've passed away. So something like that would be really when you're going to have a revocable trust. And then you have realty trusts that are only going to be for real estate. And again, that could be for protection against um, people that might sue you or tenants that might sue you. Those are the most common, and those are the ones that we're ultimately talking about for real estate purposes.
And just for, you mentioned Medicaid, and I know there are a lot of elderly people who they own homes, and a lot of them end up selling their homes, or the nursing home takes their homes in order to pay their bills, because it is really incredibly expensive to be in a nursing home. I mean, a lot of them are 3 to 5 to $8,000. It really just depends on what kind of care you need, where you are, in the United States. Uh, what would you typically suggest to help people keep their homes for, I don't know, for the people that are going to inherit them later, or maybe so that they can use it for what they want?
Well, it's certainly going to be do an estate plan, sit down with an attorney, do an estate plan, figure out what's best for you, figure out what timing is best for you, because you're ultimately planning 5 years in advance. And that's the biggest thing is I don't have that crystal ball and I don't know what's going to happen in the next 5 years. So have that conversation now, but most likely we're going to either put it in a trust, maybe we'll put it in a life estate, maybe not, again, depending on what your wishes are. But maybe we also put it in an irrevocable trust. Or we could ultimately put it in a third party's name, family member's name, if that's something that's viable. So we have a lot of options, but again, we have to go back to 5 years in the future.
What are some of the problems that you solve for people that come to you that need a trust? I mean, the problems that you solve, and really, what are the things you need to watch out for?
It's really, again, goes back to where you're at physically, where you're at mentally. Those are the big key points that we're going to be talking about. What does that look like for you? What is your ultimate goal? Some people are like, I'm going to live in my house. I don't care. I'll pay every single person to come stay with me 24/7. There's other people that are like, I don't have anyone. I don't care if, I have to use Medicare services and they get my house. I don't have anyone else to leave it to. So again, you kind of have those all walks of life people, and I really want to go back to what is important to you, what is the ultimate goal, and then how can we reach that goal. And it's going to be different. It's going to be on a case by case basis. But again, getting it out of your name into some other form is going to be what is best for you. But again, depends on if you're willing to do that.
So, what's the problem with it?
The problems are a couple things. One, if you try to do it yourself, doesn't mean it's done properly. Two, you have a bad attorney or they're not actually listening to everything that you need or that what you're looking for. And it's either the wrong type of trust or it's something that you can't amend and it's not what you wanted. Three, and this one seems to be coming up more often than not lately, is people are not properly naming trusts. Um, if you just say Sally Smith Trust, there's probably going to be a lot of them out there. So you want to say the Sally C. Smith of Worcester Trust. Call it something different that makes it unique. Have that ability to do that. When you're creating the trust, that's something different. Because what I'm coming across right now in the Registry of Deeds is, wait a minute, that's my client's trust, but that's a totally different date. And so now you have this issue that you are facing potentially unmarketable title because there are two entities out there with the exact same trust name, and the only difference is the date of execution. And you're supposed to do a trustee certificate saying, I am the trustee of X, Y, and Z trust, dated blah. But sometimes people don't put that in there. So again, that's where you're going to get into those problems if you're not making the trust name unique. Just something simple like that, or better yet, somebody not doing a trustee certificate, and now people passed away, and there's no way to get a trustee certificate because it's not on file. So again, those are the pitfalls of really knowing how to handle the trust. Having an attorney look it over, make sure they're following everything. You've got to cross your T's and dot your I's there. And if you don't, it's a lot more work for us in the long run.
It sounds like it. And of course, you mentioned, it's tough to do yourself. You don't really know, what the process is. You don't really know how to make sure that the paperwork is correct and how it's filed correctly. Like you said, you could have duplicate trusts, and I mean, it's really very confusing later on when you're trying to execute and access your trust. And like you said, it can be a lot of work later on if you don't make sure that things are done properly up front. I mean, you might as well not even have one at that point.
Absolutely. And, again, just something simple that if a trustee dies and you don't have a designated alternate trustee, great. We may have to go into court to get that taken care of. So, again, a lot of pitfalls if you're not educated in this field.
So, how long does a trust last?
It's all going to be written in the trust. So, a trust could last one lifetime. If it's your trust, it may terminate upon your death, but it may terminate upon your daughter's death. So again, we're going to look at that document and we're going to make that determination. Now, the caveat here is we need to be able to quantify that. And if we can't, then the whole trust is going to fail. So it can't be a perpetual thing. It needs to be some type of date certain or measurable within the trust.
I'm also curious because this is what you do. You go to court and you fight for your clients, and I'm sure that there are people who will, I mean, at least in the movies, they will challenge the trust and say, well, that's not right. That's not what they really wanted. And there's always like something about, oh, they changed the trust today, and so and so got blackballed and they're out. I mean, there's a lot of drama around people that go against the trust and challenge it.
Well, it does happen. I mean, the good thing is it's infrequent, but you're going to have to ultimately have a judge decide, and the judge is going to determine, okay, well, how was it drafted? Who was it drafted by? We're probably going to have that attorney come in and testify as the drafter as to what they did, why they did what they did. Was the attorney properly educating his client? Did the attorney cover everything that the client wanted? Was the client of sound mind? So they're going to go through all of that stuff. You might have experts that have medical records that shows this person is completely insane, or this person was in a coma. How could they sign it? And there's a lot of different variables. The most common one is always that, well, they didn't even know their name. Yes, because the question is, did the attorney just misspell it and nobody bothered to catch it? Well, a sane person would have caught their name spelled wrong. Maybe, maybe not. I have clients that are, trusting that what I'm saying it actually says, but they're legally blind. So, you got to put some type of trust in people. So, yes, it can be contested. It will ultimately be determined by a judge at trial, or the parties will negotiate a settlement. At the end of the day, again, what is your purpose and what is your standing in contesting it? A lot of times it's going to include you. Maybe it's not including you 50%. Maybe you want it 100%. I don't know. But again, it's going to be a hard issue to overcome. So you really have to look at the facts and circumstances as to when it was done, how it was done. If it was done at the kitchen table at the house versus in a law firm and nobody else was present, probably going to have a hard time to say that there's coercion when the only person that's there is the attorney and their staff.
And that's when it gets interesting. Well, we really appreciate your information on trust today. Is there anything that we missed that you'd like to mention for the folks out there that might want to put a house in a trust?
I think, again, the biggest thing is just have that conversation. Be candid as to what the ultimate goal is so we can best advise you, because sometimes the trust is not the right way to go. But if we don't know what your end goal is, or if you're not upfront about it, then we're going to give you improper advice.
And yeah, always be honest with your attorney. You may not be honest with your priest, but please be honest with your attorney. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. We really do appreciate your information and, just doggedly letting us go out there and understand what we need to know, what are the challenges and the strategies that are going to work best. And so we really do appreciate you clearing that up for us. We hope you have a great weekend.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And thanks everyone for watching. Have a great day.